Fresno County is home to a rich diversity of people and natural wonders. It is famous for being the most productive farmland in the world. The past 3 years have been the driest since 1895, and the drought is affecting the lives of the residents of Fresno County in many devastating ways. As access to available water dwindled, Fresno County residents and businesses, both urban and rural, were faced with hard choices and many changes. The following interviews are from Fresno County residents affected by the California drought.
When we don't have enough water for the farm, we have no choice but to not plant some crops. We've had actually quite a bit of land fallow since 2009, and this is probably the worst year in 2015, where we were up to 40%, but we've probably fallowed an average of about 30 to 35% of our farm the last 7 years. The drought has affected our seasonal farm workers far harder than anybody else. For instance, in our cantaloupes, we used to hire over 300 people to harvest our cantaloupes, but we're going to be down to closer to 200 workers by next year. Same thing with our asparagus. We used to hire about 80 or 90 workers to harvest our asparagus, and we'll be down to about 10 or 12 next year. This year, 2015, is probably the worst drought that we've ever experienced. Out here on the west side, we've experienced some water reductions for 25 years now. And so we've been through a lot of reductions over the years, and we have adapted to those reductions by becoming more efficient with water, by using high-tech irrigation systems and conservation systems. Our reductions have become deeper and deeper. And in 2014 and 15, we actually got zero water allocation. Next year, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know whether we'll get zero, or even if it's a wet year, we could get maybe only 10%. So as bad as this year is, it could get worse next year. As a result of the drought, there have been impacts to farmers here. I know of a number of farmers that are my age. They're up in age, and they can't. They either can't survive it, or they don't want to. They've given up the fight, and they say, "I'll just retire and sell the farm." I've seen more of that than I care to see. A lot of these are family farmers, small farmers, farmers who maybe their children see what their fathers are going through, and they don't want to go through that, and all the risks that the farmers have to take. Definitely is taking its toll. The thing about the drought, it's a very slow disaster. It doesn't happen in one day like an earthquake or a hurricane. It's a very slow death. I think that going into 2016 is going to be a make or break year for many farmers. If we don't have any additional water, I'm afraid that a lot of our family farmers are going to suffer and possibly go out of business. And it is going to hurt our community.
Yeah, California is blessed. It's unique. It has one of the largest aquifer systems in the country. It's the Central Valley. It's all of the Central Valley, going from Red Bluff down to Bakersfield. The real story, though, is that we have had long-term extraction of groundwater, where it's actually over the last 40 years that it's consistently gone down, because we haven't matched the amount of water that we extract with the amount of water we can get into the ground. A lot of the water that is delivered from either our river systems or imported into the area doesn't necessarily go onto areas that will get down into the groundwater. So our bank account has been overdrawn for 40 years. Well, the basic idea is it comes from the Constitution. It's the idea that you can use water on your property if you use it and don't abuse it. But anywhere below the northern 1/3 of California, it's pretty darn dry. And so if you're depending all on local water, it's all allocated. It's probably already been that way for some time, and you have to make deals if you want to get additional water for some new purpose. I think we have had some preparation. Some people have done a better job than others. It's very uneven. But yes, I think the lack of preparation probably has exacerbated the drought. You'll find, talking with water people, is that since there's so few of us that have actually worked in the field for a long time, it has not received the attention perhaps that it should have. As I mentioned earlier, we haven't made certain investments. The good news is that now we have everybody's attention. The bad news is that some people don't want to hear the message. This is the most intense drought in the last 100 years.
Well, my department is responsible for supplying water to the city, so the drought has had a major impact on my department professionally. We are under orders from the state board. When the governor passed his emergency order for statewide reduction in 25% of urban usage, we fell into the 36% conservation tier, meaning we had to cut back 36%. So it's been a mad scramble all year trying to implement measures to achieve that goal set by the state. And we adopted emergency regulations that required all of our users to reduce their use by 36% based on 2013, which is what the state is comparing us to. And we would compare their bill back to 2013. And if they failed to reduce by 36%, we assessed a penalty on each bill. Over the 4 months, billing periods in June, July, August, and September, we assessed somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 penalties, and for a total of $750,000 in penalties. We invested $30 million in a wastewater recycling plant that treats our wastewater to a very high level, disinfects it, and allows us to use that treated wastewater to irrigate our public landscaping. And we've invested $10 million in water banking facilities to store water for the next drought and for this drought and for growth as we grow. But when the snowpack is at 25% like it was, this last winter, you can't conserve your way out of a drought that's that severe. But the last big dam, big storage facility built by either state or federal government was New Maloney's, and that I think filled in 1983. And the state's population has increased more than 50% since then. And in reality, urban users for a long time have been insulated from the drought. They think water comes from the faucet. They don't pay that close attention to the overall water aspect. We in the water business pay very close attention, and agriculture is obviously closer. And because we are part of the valley, which is so ag-dominated, I think there's a better understanding of water issues here in the valley. Clovis capped 18,000 sprinklers in May. And if you notice, many parts of town, when they had developed along the side of the street, along our major arterials, there's big areas of turf and trees. Well, if you drive them now, the trees are still alive, but the turf is all dead because we capped all the sprinklers that were irrigating the turf and just kept the sprinklers going on the trees to save the trees. You go by some of our parks, it's kind of, some of them look a little brown because we've cut back water there. The areas that we have on the recycled water, we can continue using, and they're nice and green. I think frustration. Frustration for, I mean, everybody realizes it's drought. The good thing is okay, now people recognize and are taking water a little more serious.
There are a lot of our neighbors here where they stop watering their grass, and they did a lot of cutback on water. We have neighbors that went and got synthetic grass and started using, more landscaping that were water resistant, whether putting in more cement or rocks, things like that. I think it's really hard to tell them. They're really young, they're 5 and 1, so it's really hard to tell them you can't have a bath every night. Every little thing, like just, putting a timer on, watering your lawn, something as simple as turning the faucet off when you're brushing your teeth, timing your showers, and, teaching your kids and doing those repetition with the kids, and, I do a lot of, turn off the light when you're not using it, turn your switch off, I mean, that's electricity, but at the same time, those are our natural resources that if we don't take the initiative to, monitor that on the micro level, we're definitely not going to be able to have that very, very, very much in the future.
In the process of Selma trying to cope with the drought, I think that we've done probably better than a lot of our peers. Selma was one of those 5 that has met that requirement so far. Basically what that requirement is, compared to 2013, our goal was set at 32% reduction. And from June through the current date, we've been able to do a little better than 40%. So I think they've done a great job of trying to meet that. I think the reduction that the citizens of Selma have accomplished to save 40% over their 2013 level indicates that they're concerned, and that they're making the steps that we've asked them to make to save on irrigation, make changes within the home, repair plumbing lines and leaking situations that are causing overdrafting of their water. And so I really think that the coping process has been that they've just stepped up to the plate and they've done what we've asked them to do. Well, nobody has a crystal ball to know exactly when it will be over. And I suppose the answer to that question is even if the drought that we're in comes to an end, we've had droughts before, so there will be droughts again.
Well, I kind of look at life right now as before the drought and after the drought, because it's dramatically different in a lot of ways. Our acreage has been cut in about half. We've lost about half our employees. We've had to make dramatic changes to our business operation and our business plan. Without water, we can't grow trees. Before the drought, we farmed 1,200 acres of permanent crops, of all different kinds of citrus, almonds, pistachios, and olives. Over the course of the 4-year drought, we've cut back on acreage year after year, and trying to match the number of acres we have with what we believe our available water is. Well, we didn't cut back on hours, we let people go. We let go about half of our workforce, to correspond with the loss of acreage. Just, it goes hand in hand. But, other things that you may not see is that, the impact on suppliers in town. We're not buying as much fertilizer. We're not buying as many tires. We're not buying as much, you name it, because we're not farming as much. We're not paying as many employees. Because we've pushed out so many trees, the packing houses that we deal with have less fruit to pack. So that impacts the people that work there at the packing house, or where we get our cartons from. It works its way through the economy. Unnecessary. Unnecessary again because it doesn't have to be this bad. It didn't have to be as bad as it is. If we would have been able to have even a 10, 15, or 20% water supply, it would have been a game changer for us, as opposed to 0, which is what we've received the last 2 years.
The droughts affected us dramatically. A lot of farmers are needing more wells, more water. Their old wells were not drilled deep enough years ago, so now the farmers are going extra deeper so they don't have to fight it down the road again and avoid this down the future. So maybe in the future we won't see any more droughts. The state of the drought is terrible right now. It's terrible. Farmers are having to spend millions of dollars drilling wells to be able to keep farming and produce food for everybody. Well, when we originally started drilling, 20, 30 years ago, 400 foot, 500 foot was a deep well. Now we have wells going as deep as 2,000 feet in certain areas. Majority of the wells are in the 600 to 1,000 foot range. Right now we have a backlog of approximately a year to a year and a half left that we're still trying to get caught up on people that are waiting for wells. Now some of those, if it's an emergency and the guy's going to lose his crop, we'll try to work it in a little better so we can take care of that customer without losing the crop. Well, a lot of the farmers have asked us, hey, when are you going to be here to drill my well so he knows how many acres he can plant based on the amount of water he's got? Well, conserve water every way you can. Farmers are doing that already. Do whatever you can to help the drought. And if you do hire well drillers to do it, make sure they know what they're doing. A lot of people give a lot of money up front, and sometimes they never see the well driller again. Be careful.
I would just like anybody else who lives in this state, it's affecting our pocketbook first and foremost. It's affecting our ability to farm better or more productively, obviously, and it's also affecting how we do and what we do, whether it's around the house or especially in the farm. We've been considered the #1 county, Fresno that is, in the world in production. When you have a 7 billion industry in one county, and look at all the jobs that not only 7 billion grows to the farmers, but look at all the jobs that created with ag and ag components and ag manufacturing and ag processing. Is not only the amount of jobs that is created, but look at all the food that's produced in this one county. And then the food is not only destined for the U.S. and Fresno and California and Nevada and Arizona and New York, it's destined for Mexico, it's destined for Canada, it's destined for the Asian markets. The bottom line is it's going to affect anybody and everybody in their individual lives, in their daily lives, and we all have to participate in all of the activities together and see what we can do jointly, not only individually, but jointly, either ourselves, within our association, within a group or trade association, to find ways to see if we can mitigate some of the severity of the drought.
I heard quite a bit on the news, mostly the stuff Jerry Brown this last year talking about, the water cuts and trying to conserve and all that. Mostly fishing is being affected right now. One word though would just be probably just sad. Sad that we're so dry right now. It's affecting everything else around us. I haven't been too surprised that I'm the only one out here. The Kings River has been really dry lately. The water flow's been slow, so the fish have been affected and they've been, sickly and hard to find. Just concerned about not being enough water out there for the fish, and also too, been finding a lot of trash and stuff around the rivers areas and stuff like that. So that's always a big concern as well, as we're not taking care of the area and the water that we do still have.
How the drought is affecting my family and friends, I know that some of them have to give up something that they love to do. A lot of my friends and family, they don't do farming just because maybe that's all they have to do. A lot of them, they have a passion for farming. It's in their blood. It's always been part of our culture and our tradition, and they love it and they want to do it. And I know that some of them, when they can't farm anymore, it's heartbreaking for them. They have to give up something. And not only that, but financially as well, it impacts them. Yes, especially for the girls when they're taking showers. They're used to having the shower run all the time. But now that they realize that the drought is a very serious thing here in the valley, and that it's more important to have it for our vegetables and our food than to take a 15, 20-minute shower. It took them a while to get used to lathering first and then rinsing them, because I don't have that luxury of having the water all the time. So it was hard for the kids at first. But once they get used to the idea and they start to develop the habit, then it got a little bit easier. And I remember my 10-year-old asking me if we would consider drinking water that is filtered, toilet water or sewer water that was filtered. Would we consider drinking that? That was very interesting. But you have to be positive, and you have to keep persevering. You have to be positive, because if you start thinking negative, then you just want to give up. And you have to think positive. If I can't do it one way, what other way can I do? If the water's not enough, maybe I should think about doing drip system. Maybe I should think about what kind of vegetables I'm going to grow. Okay, don't give up just because we have a drought, and you persevere. Find other ways to help you.